Isaac and his mother lived alone in a small house on a hill. Isaac kept to himself, drawing pictures and playing with his toys as his mom watched Christian broadcasts on the television. Life was simple, and they were both happy. That was until the day Isaac's mom heard a voice from above. "Your son has become corrupted by sin."
He will not be good. An angel with a green sack over his head appeared in the living room and flew away. Soon after, Isaac's mom noticed a strange smell in the house and that her child wasn't behaving like he usually did. He wasn't playing with his toys, he couldn't eat his favorite food, and he even tried to clean the house in order to make it nice. Isaac eventually developed an addiction to porn, something he picked up from watching his older brother surf the internet and playing video. Isaac eventually developed an addiction to porn, something he picked up from watching his brother surf the internet and playing video games. Eventually, he became obsessed. This led to trouble at school and in life. According to KTVN, his parents even had to send him to live with his grandparents for a few months. And when he came back, he was just as addicted as before. Recommended stories for you! In 2015, Isaac's parents caught him looking at porn again, and they were shocked. They decided to take their son to a sex rehab center. After months of sessions, they finally got to the root of the problem. My son became very interested in cartoon characters, Scooby-Doo, He-Man, Transformers, and Spider-Man. And I found a very deep-seated shame, fear, and guilt in my son. Isaac's mom told the Daily Beast the whole way that I, as a woman, have been raised teaches you how to care for, love, and nurture a man. But not to nurture him to be a great father, son, and brother. The treatment actually worked for Isaac, but the process was a complicated and a long one. And he was enrolled in sex rehab for 6 months in the summer of 2008. He says he had sex with counselors there but didn't give them money. And he says no one touched him while he was there. He left He left sex rehab in a mess. He didn't have a job. He hadn't paid his rent. He was depressed and was planning on using drugs. But when he saw Danny again, he picked himself up and made a decision. He was going to make it. He was going to make it with or without drugs. He was going to start taking care of his business. He started buying his car. When he was waiting for the tow truck to take away his junker, he noticed a man in a wheelchair. He hadn't seen anyone in a wheelchair for 2 years, and suddenly it didn't matter what the man's condition was. He looked like he'd been through a lot, Lino says. He handed the man his business card and invited him to come to a pickup game. The man said he couldn't, but Lino kept offering. He kept saying, "Come to a pickup game with me." Finally, the man said yes, and they started going to movies. They'd talk. And then there was a period where they didn't talk. They tried to fix their marriage, and it just wasn't going to work. So he started hanging out with Lino, and the movies were cheap, and he started having fun again. They'd go out with each other, and people would say, "Wow, you guys have so much in common." And they both knew why. "What?" said Lino. "You think we're all married to a hockey... You think we're all married to hockey players?" And then they'd laugh. They'd laugh at the assumption, and he told Lino how he went to a funeral in that town, in the middle of nowhere. He walked the halls, he sat in the cold, and talked to the guy's friends. They were telling him how young the guy was, how they all knew this guy who came to games. His friends would joke about how he talked too much. "You should see him outside the locker room," Lino said. "You should see the looks on people's faces." And then it hit me, said Lino. That was me. That was all of us. The end.